Oh, hello there. Yes, well, turned out above freezing again. Yes. Anyway, we're still in January. The madness continues. Did have to smile at two things yesterday from the gorgeous and pouting Lord Frost and the equally gorgeous and pouting Julia Hartley-Brewer, inevitably on her show on Talk TV. God, she's paid so much money for that for so few viewers. Still, never mind, eh? The important thing is the national conversation. But anyway, Lord Frost, yes, was intriguing. The look on the face of the woman here says it all. So, Julia Hartley-Brewer asks Conservative peer Lord David Frost, Brexit is going to be undermined under Labour. Lord Frost, they're aiming to align big chunks of the British economy and trade with the EU. I will draw attention to how damaging it's going to be. Yes. Now, I always get slightly confused with the whole EU debate thing because I thought we'd left the EU and had sovereignty, but according to various people, we don't and haven't. Which I personally find very, very confusing. Like Ben Habib will say we need to get Brexit done, which I thought we had done about 5 years ago. There was an entire election, the landslide victory. Remember that? 80 seats? Yeah, they spaffed that up the wall, didn't they? Anyway, in this particular thing, he's magically suggesting that the British people, the one thing they're very, 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 amongst the many things they're very concerned about, one of the big ones, inevitably, is that the Labour Party might draw closer ties to Europe, which, looking at a map, would be quite sensible. But both of them agree that the British public don't want to have anything to do with that, and the opinion polls are wrong. So once again, we're back into that kind of territory whereby anything that's mildly inconvenient in terms of a fact from the, journalist, or indeed a matter of integrity from, the politician, can just be, ignored. And removing the sceptical woman in the middle, which they moved on to this. Julia Hartley-Brewer challenges Conservative Lord David Frost on the previous inquiry into child grooming gangs. The government in which you were a minister didn't actually enact any of the recommendations of the inquiry. Indeed, and again, you can watch this little clip down below, to which David Frost basically says, yeah. Yes, they actually laugh about it. So there you go. The number one huge issue that we need to be very sour-faced about is just a bit of a laugh, really, because they didn't do that. Still, it's convenient stick to beat the government with, isn't it? Especially if you're paid £500,000 like Julia is to just, give out propaganda. Nicely done, nicely done. Who needs democracy? Speaking of which, of course, you may recall that we had a change of government about 6 months ago, and one of the things that people voted for, or voted around, certainly, was the idea that we weren't going to, have any more of those rubbish policies in the last 14 years, which we've neatly saddled ourselves with, of course, because we get this amongst the brilliant, AI is going to be great, isn't it? We're going to do AI. Yeah. It's like all that stuff you ever heard about with the NHS, where they're always just about to bring in a new IT system, which magically will cost 10 times the amount that it was originally proposed to and won't work. I remember one time working in a hospital, and they installed a data system which was going to back up overnight. The problem was that it took longer than overnight to back up the day's data. So basically it could never back up anything. Still, money badly spent. But yeah, anyway, Keir Starmer has agreed to basically sell off your information to whoever might want to buy it, because one of the things that this government desperately wants to do is have a bit of good news in terms of NHS in particular, because they can kind of run with that for a long period of time. Basically, if you can turn up at if you can turn up at your A&E and get seen within, say, an hour, or you can, at least get a dentist somewhere or something like that, it will be a victory. But they are quite happy with res streeting, just simply to sell off your data. It is the most magnificently expensive, potentially, thing that the NHS holds on to, because it's basically the largest health database in the world. But you can guarantee that these people will sell it off for nothing, because they're being pushed on all sides. Mainly because they've imposed fiscal rules. Hooray! We'll come on to those in just a moment again. Fiscal rules that they don't actually have to obey themselves, which are set by the independent independent Bank of England, which doesn't have to be independent because we've got to meet inflation targets, which we don't actually have to meet. But never mind that. Let's not bother talking about economics because, of course, your pretty little head can't understand it. Certainly mine can't. I don't know what on earth I'm talking about. Not like, for example, the Reform Party, because one of the joyous things that they've decided to do with the 10-minute backbenchers rule bill is to introduce a demand on the government that they don't have quantitative easing, which sounds like a really sensible thing, isn't it? It always sounds sensible, to a 5-year-old. We don't have any money, so we can't get an ice cream. Oh, could we borrow £5 from Grandma? No, we can't borrow £5 from Grandma to have an ice cream. Oh, yes. Even though you know full well that you can borrow £5 from Grandma and you can easily pay it back. It's not a problem, is it? It's not a problem if you want an ice cream from Grandma. No. However, according to Rupert Lowe, the government mustn't indulge in quantitative easing. And if you think about it, that's entirely very, very sensible. Apart from when they want to do anything. Because the logic of this kind of notion about debt being bad, of course, suggests very strongly that mortgages are bad. So maybe we should ban mortgages. After all, we can't have people paying for things they can't afford, surely. Shouldn't we? Isn't that the inherent logic of this one? And the answer to that is no, that's complete tosh. Yes, indeed it is. Still, here we go. Those brilliant folks that are going to sort everything out once they're in government are proposing not to have quantitative easing. Okay, then fine. I can't wait for the next financial crash, which, don't forget, is en route because our glorious current government has decided to ease all of that stuff off once again because the banking sector is saying, well, we will pay a bit more tax if you do that. So that'll be fine then. So we'll have another financial crash. I'm not quite sure where it'll come from. It could come from student debt. It may well come, oddly enough, from actually people buying all those brand new cars that are on the Never Never as well. There's a whole raft of them. Still, what with the US economy crashing, which is something that will happen very, very soon, we'll see how all this lot ties out. But it will be intriguing to hear whether or not Rupert Lowe still thinks there should be quantitative easing when the next massive shock of capitalism arrives. Because, of course, we must have a massive shock of capitalism. We've got to have that Elon Musk slashing all government spending by 75% in the US. I can't see that causing any problems or ripples anywhere at all, especially not with tariffs being imposed. Yes, got to have tariffs, particularly on the Danes, bastards that they are. Imagine, right, not giving up Iceland or Greenland or any of them. Yeah, the Russians must be rubbing their hands with glee at the idea that Greenland will still remain Danish or something. I don't know. It's just utter rubbish, isn't it? And yet this is the stuff we are spoon-fed day in, day out by our media. Yeah, anything that's inconvenient isn't true, and the assumption that you are simply at the same mental state of a 5-year-old and will accept any old tosh that they say. Oddly enough, Julia Hartley-Brewer did do PPE at university, but I think university was a long time ago. Anyway, do have a gorgeous day. Enjoy the not freezingness of it. Yes, enjoy.